or just intermittent or is kind of continuously being active. Well, look at our Morova data. We don't see basically anything until the turn of the year, 2026. I mean, this is showing February 2nd right there. So that's probably the turn of the year. And all of a sudden, we start getting lots of high activity, even some very high activity. This probably has not yet updated for what just occurred. But in general, we do see, says the last update there is 1250 UTC. But this is the big biggest eruption that's occurred at Mayon, as far as I know, in quite some time. So we see that Mayon volcano has suddenly decided to wake up just in the past
to a little shot of this.
How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday. Hope everyone's ready for the weekend. It is May 1st, 2026, 11:17 a.m. California time. Latest activity here on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.6 across Alaska. Notice some larger activity out there across the West Coast early this morning. We got Nevada kicking back up here with 5.0 earthquake activity outside of Fallon, Nevada. A 5.0 struck here early this morning when everyone was sleeping, I'm sure.
There it is, Silver Springs. So out near Silver Springs. So, and their Stagecoach. So these are like over a period of time, they keep adding up. So further down, there's more earthquake activity, like I talked about, around Area 51. And so what's coming, right? What's coming? So I think there's going to be some good shaking coming. All right, so let's move over to the Middle East again, and let's look at what's going on. We got Monkey Works looking at the skies and giving us some insight what he sees. Let's look into Monkey Works' crystal ball and see what he's talking about here.
That's what I wanted to show you. All right, now this is what I believe is a Middle East reset. And so we're going to get into the deets around that, because when you start to look, I think there's 4 elements that are happening with those flights that are scurrying across the EU. And one of them, first and foremost, there is a NATO and EU alignment. We're trying to hold it together. Europe is under a direct economic pressure because of the Iranian war. Right, they've got jet fuel costs, airspace disruption, Middle East flight cancellations, fuel supply concerns, and are now starting to hit European aviation super hard. Like I said, 3 weeks until the wheels come off. Reuters reported that airlines are urging the EU for emergency measures because the Iran war impacts. That includes airspace closures and jet fuel worries. The AP also reported that Lufthansa is cutting 20,000 flights starting from October 2026 because, or sorry, not starting, but through October 2026, because of fuel cost pressure linked to the Iranian war.
All right, so they only have 3 weeks of fuel left for their airlines. And so that's not looking so good for Europe, right? So I've been saying, you better get out of Europe. you better get out of Europe, right? So, I make these warnings, and unfortunately, I always am right. So if you get some money, you better get out while you can, because it's going to shut down, and no one's going to hear you scream, right? So once this thing, there's no more flights out of Europe, it's going to be like the Nazi times, right? Because we're seeing the same fascist type stuff, that I mentioned, that's happening in California, it's happening in New Zealand, it's happening all across Europe. It's almost like they had a game plan for another lockdown, and Trump intervened again. Remember how Trump came in with Operation Warp Speed, kind of disrupted them? I believe that's what's happening in the Middle East right now. He stepped in and disrupted their plans. All right. So Monkey Works has been talking about how there's a lot of troops that are leaving the U.S., flying to Europe, and then down into the Middle East, a lot. And that's been going on for weeks. So I think there's been a buildup. And maybe that's why there's been a delay in going in and hammering Iran. Because Iran has, under mountains, they have lots of mountains in Iran, and under those mountains are like missile factories, and it's where they put together their nukes and all kind of crazy stuff. We hit one of them, and I guess they had like a little air vent or something, and bombs went down the air vent and blew everything up. But they probably salvaged a lot of that stuff, and like they told us, we got a nuke material for 11 nukes. So let's negotiate. You open the Strait of Hormuz, get out of our way. We're going to start to make everybody pay to go through the Strait of Hormuz, right? So they're still using that threat, and we're going to have to go for it, guys, and go in there and take care of business. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for Europe to reach a breaking point so they get involved. Maybe they're trying to use economic warfare as well, because they're losing a lot of money. They can't pay their soldiers. They can't pay their police, corrupt police, and all that kind of stuff. So meanwhile, they had 3 carriers there. One of them is leaving. USS Gerald Ford, or at least that's what they're saying. Who knows? Maybe tonight they'll hit them. I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't hit them yet, but so I'm not going to make any predictions. And I have some strong feelings, when it was going to happen, or when I thought it was going to happen, but it's better not to say. All right, USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strike group is set to depart the Middle East after an extended deployment, leaving 2 other carrier strike groups, the USS George H.W. Bush and the USS Abraham Lincoln. And so this move is part of a strategic adjustment as the U.S. Navy faces challenges in maintaining multiple carrier deployments simultaneously. So I think the USS Gerald Ford is the one that got, caught on fire in the berthing area, and they had to go fix it up in, I forget where they went, up in the Mediterranean, but they went up there and got it fixed. They're already way over their normal deployment. Normally they're 6 months, and then they go back home, and I think they're at 8 months now. So finally going to send those boys home to get a little R&R. And then who knows, maybe with all these bases that are shutting down in NATO, they can take those guys, train them to work on those ships, and send them out quick. So yeah. So I think boot camp for the Navy, it's like 8 weeks or whatever, 12 weeks, whatever it was. And, half that's really where you learn stuff. So 6 weeks, they could train some people up and stick them on those ships and send them out. If the U.S. and Iran aren't able to soon come to a deal to end the war or extend the ceasefire that expires next week. All right. So this was April 15th. So this has been going on and on and on and on. Now we're into May. So next week becomes another week, and then here we are at a few more days and another week. Now he said, I think on the 1st, or maybe it was the day before, or the 30th, that if he was joking around, of course, he said if Iran did not agree to what he wants them to do, give up the nukes and open the Strait of Hormuz, then he was going to drop human beings. Human beings. Who was that human being? That fat human being that's a New Jersey guy that used to be governor. Yeah. So that big fat governor, just drop him, and it'll blow up and just take out all of Iran. Yeah. So that's probably what we're going to get. All right, Chris Christie. That's right. Thank you, Spiritual Journey. So Chris Christie, he's a big boy, and drop from high altitude, he could really blow up. And I think that's what Trump was kind of kidding around about. So he and Chris Christie have been at odds for a while. So anyways, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters at the White House briefing Wednesday that the U.S. plans to ramp up economic pain. I predict pain on Iran, and said the new moves will be the financial equivalent of a bombing campaign, right? So we don't need to bomb them. We just restrict their economics. That's not going to work. It's not going to work with these. They'll just steal from everybody and keep themselves going. Everybody else will starve, and they'll keep the last of the food. It's the way these people work. So, I mean, it sounds good, but, maybe, the people that aren't getting paid are going to turn against them. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Now, in the meantime, like I said, there's Iran's Immortal Guard. Sounds like something from the past. All right. Maybe during the Persian Empire days. The Immortals, I believe, were the ones that predicted the king. So they were the best of the best. And so we're seeing the Immortal Guard is basically conducting guerrilla warfare in Iran now.
A breaking news short for you guys. We had a bit of a situation, massive explosion right here in Zanjan. 14 IRGC forces members, operatives, were eliminated in this mysterious explosion. Now, the state media bombs. Why did you have so many IRGC operatives, actual militants, at the scene? Now, we still don't know exactly how this so-called incident occurred, but it smells like sabotage. We've had a lot of mysterious sabotage, gas leaks, explosions, and this was one of the biggest ones. 14 of them gone, 2 more injured, and
all right. So the way you handle blowing up bombs is you place a bomb next to it, and only one guy goes and does that. And now they have robots that do that these days as well. So that's the way that's normally, taken care of. So 14 of these guys be taken out and 2 wounded. Sounds to me like a little sabotage against some of their forces. Now, Israel is still striking them. This is not being reported widespread, but Israel is still taking out some of their top people. And in fact, one of the people that Israel has taken out in a strike was the head of the IRGC that would go after the people, and has been, assassinating locals that got out of line and arresting them and so forth. So he has been eliminated. Very interesting, right? So my thought process about, some of these Iranians, being guerrilla warfare fighters, like the Immortal Guard, like he's talking about right there, doing sabotage work and getting information probably from CIA and Mossad on the ground, which are getting information from, their sources, of course. So we're seeing, I think, a lot of these people, are ready to go off on the IRGC, and they got some support that came from Iraq, right? So they're little militia groups that were in Iraq. Of course, the U.S. struck a bunch of them and blew a bunch of them up in Iraq. They did airstrikes against them. So they ran to Iran where it was safe, and they're going against and they're going after people that don't have guns and stuff forth. So the big tough guys, right? I tell you guys, I've gone against the Muslims quite a bit. Not so tough. They talk tough, but not good fighters, right? They can strap some bombs to themselves and walk into like innocent crowds and blow themselves up, and they seem like they're badass fighter. That's not badass fighter, right? All right, so because I can tell you that SEALs and Delta. Six guys, Delta and regular forces, took out less than a month. We basically completely control all of Iraq, right? And it can be that way for Iran, maybe another month at the most, right? Looking at the entire territory. But again, if you let the special forces in there to work with the locals, which I think the Green Berets are outstanding and have special skills at, like they did in Afghanistan with the 12 horsemen. That can be very, very effective. So let's look at that. Let's look at those 12 guys, those 12 incredibly brave Green Berets that went in and basically turned the war around. The role horses played in 12 Green Berets' historic mission. On the night of October 10th, 2001, a MH-47G Chinook made the treacherous flight from Uzbekistan over the Hindu Kush mountains, which are very tall and snow-laden for a good part of the year. Howling winds and weather ranging from sandstorms to snow-battered the heavy helicopter before it landed in the tiny village of Dihi, Afghanistan. On board were 12 Green Berets with 5th Special Forces Group Operational Detachment Alpha 595, right? So just weeks earlier, America had been attacked, 9/11. So these guys responded so friggin' quick. That was amazing. The country was reeling from the shock and devastations of 9/11. The mission for ODA 595, team up with local Afghan warlords and resistance fighters to defeat the Taliban. Same thing will happen in Iran, guys. It was a dangerous insertion. The unknowns far outweighed the known, but of course, that's what Special Forces guys are trained to do, adapt and overcome, and these guys did it, and pretty amazing. At sunrise the next morning, about 60 Afghan men arrived mounted on horses, accompanied by outriders and scouts. They were led by General Abdul Rashid Dostum, an Uzbek warlord. So basically, these guys, and here's a picture taken in the morning of October 21st, 2001. This is the group, and they got their horses, and they basically, great story about them saddling up. Wow. So let me tell you what their saddles were. The saddle I rode in was the pelvis bone of a cow flipped upside down, covered with carpet, and held onto the horse with a braided rope. Now I've got pillows, and I'll show you those pillows. I put my computer on these pillows, and they're basically horse sacks, right? So this is from Afghanistan, right? So I got a bunch of those pillows. So they're pretty cool, very rugged. And Tracy had them made into pillows. So they were basically saddlebags. And Tracy very ingeniously had this one woman make them into saddlebags or pillows. We've had them for God, 20, almost 20 years, and they're like brand new. Pretty amazing. Very rugged. So they make good carpets over there. Very, very good carpets. And in Afghanistan, I was in a city, Herat, where Alexander the Great conquered that city and still had a fort there. Genghis Khan had built a bridge there, which was still there, and lots of other things from other cultures. They called it the city of 100 fathers, because they had Greeks, they had Brits, they had Americans, they had, you name it, Romans. They had a Roman bathhouse they were refurbishing. So pretty, very amazing. But it was a Silk Road. And, they would smuggle carpets across from Iran. So I got some amazing carpets back in the day, and for very cheap, because the Iranians couldn't ship them out anymore. So I was able to get Iranian carpets there in Afghanistan back in the day. Right. So very, very fun. 2005, 2006, I think it was there, somewhere around the time frame. So these guys basically made Afghanistan safe for me. So thank you, guys. Green Beret brothers. All right. So they basically called in airstrikes, just these 12 guys, and they had a couple ODA guys that came in, Air Force, not ODA guys, but Air Force special, here it is. 2 special operations airmen from the Air Force joined the ODA 595. And so they broke into teams of 3 or 4 men and went out off in their horses with their Afghan warlords, and they defeated the Taliban. They drove the Taliban across Afghanistan. It's pretty amazing. It's probably one of the most amazing things ever in history as far as warfare, and they don't get enough recognition. But this would be, I believe, the same thing that we would see, happening. It was Mazar-e-Sharif. So this was the river. I've been to Mazar-e-Sharif, very, very scenic area, right? No, and so they basically took that area. They blasted the Taliban out of there, and they took over. Right? It's very, very interesting. So they made a movie out of it, 12 strong, but it's only 50% accurate, as the guys say. Now, one thing, so I've talked to some of these guys over the years. They created Horse Soldier Bourbon, and they do really well with this. It hit the market back in January 2018. I think they even gave Navy SEAL guy special access to their group too at one time. I don't know if it still is, but this Navy SEAL guy that was helping them promote that. They actually have a monument in New York City at the 9/11 memorial site. So I brought this up because I think this is what this type of warfare is what special forces are outstanding in, and that could very easily be implemented. And you might not know about it in Iran, right? So the SEAL teams, they're already involved in operations in Strait of Hormuz. They're helping to enforce the naval blockade, which is doing a good job of cutting off the money, the funding of this evil empire in Iran. So they're assisting maintaining the blockade. Maybe they do some, ship interdiction, fast rope on. You've seen those fast roping, excuse me, which was perfected in SEAL Team 6. Yes. And we did a good job of that. And then we passed it down to everybody. Securing maritime traffic. They conduct operations to ensure safe passage for vessels not linked to Iranian assets. And they could be involved with counter mine warfare. Right, like I talked about, I was involved in way back. Right, so the EOD thought that it was not something that they could do, that swimmers could do, and they're like, we can't do this. It's an impossible task, and so give it to SEALs. And unfortunately, sorry, all you SEALs out there that still have to do this. I was one of those guys that you give me the impossible task, and I'm gonna accomplish it. Right, so. Of course, I had a team that we worked together well, and we did some amazing things. So we're like I said, we were able to find all the mine shapes, and now that's one of the missions, I guess, that SEALs are potentially tasked with there in Strait of Hormuz. So Trump rejects Iran's Strait of Hormuz proposal amid standoff. So this is the third one. This happened, I think, yesterday. This article was released an hour ago, so just before I came on. So the U.S. naval blockade has stranded 31 Iranian tankers carrying 53 million barrels of oil, excuse me, and cost Tehran an estimated $4.8 billion in lost revenue. So oil and good prices have surged globally, and it's becoming quite a problem in a lot of areas to the people. All right, so this really needs to happen. All right, so we're seeing the largest energy crisis in the history of the modern world. Let's talk about it.
Asia are facing the, quote, largest energy crisis in history, with over 50 countries now implementing emergency measures as the oil runs out. But not in America, where we drilled, baby drilled, in the face of a red tape wood chipper by environmentalists who failed to force us to eat the pixie farts. 2 months into the Iran war, the Wall Street Journal reports 50 countries have now implemented emergency measures. Some are rationing fuel, some are giving cash handouts so their citizens don't riot. Some are closing universities, closing factories, mandating work from home, just like COVID. Europe is down 75% of its jet fuel, canceling flights in the all-important tourism season. Australia is down to 30 days of jet fuel before it is cut off like a giant Robinson Crusoe with kangaroos. Ireland's government barely survived nationwide gas protests. Pakistan mandated a 4-day work week and closed all universities to avoid riots. Sri Lanka has declared every Wednesday a national holiday. Congratulations. In India, you cannot cremate with gas. You got to use firewood or break up the furniture to see dear Uncle Sanji to the next world. Egypt ordered an effective nationwide curfew at 9 p.m. Shops and restaurants have to close. They'll turn off the street lights, leaving you to the packs of stray dogs that are Egypt's national animal. In Bangladesh, there have been multiple cases of gas station workers beaten to death over fuel. Note, this is all with a global release of 400 million barrels of strategic oil reserve, replacing about half.
All right, so we're already seeing some problems. Bangladesh, if there's no fuel, they'll beat the gas station attendant to death. All right, how dare you not have fuel? You will die. All right, so that's people are starting to crack, and we're going to start to see that around the world the longer this goes on. Now, the United States is the only country that's basically going against this evil. Well, some of the Gulf oil countries are against Iran as well, but for the most part, Europe is NATO has abandoned, and that's Australia as well, has abandoned helping the United States. Now, 9/11, all those countries came and helped the United States, but this time, not so much. All right, so they don't believe in the war, but do they believe in high gas prices and their populations rioting? We're going to find out.
Of the lost supply from Iran. In other words, whatever we're seeing now, it goes Mad Max when the reserves run out. Now, the key for oil isn't the war, it's the Strait of Hormuz. Bill Clinton recreationally bombed Iraq through the 90s and oil did not care. The Hormuz headlines flip by the hour, but oil futures markets are projecting disrupted supply into 2027 or even 2028, meaning it'll keep getting worse in Europe and Asia as they run out. Meanwhile, in America, we've actually got more oil than we need between what we drill and what we import from neighbors like Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and now Venezuela. In fact, we've got so much oil, armadas of European and Asian tankers are coming to America to sip at our plenty, turning America into what one analyst called, quote, the emergency gas station of the world. So what's next, brought to you by the Bitcoin Way. Even without shortages, gas prices are still high in America because of that armada of foreign buyers. But the silver lining is America's got thousands of oil wells sitting idle, waiting for higher prices.
in California. So, and other states, of course. But I think at some point, Trump, I think President Trump has already mandated that the offshore drilling will begin again. I don't know if that has actually happened. Of course, from the point where they drill baby drill, to the point where that oil comes up and is actually goes to a refinery, which California is closing all the refineries. Maybe President Trump needs to step in on that one too. I've said that. Hello, right? So, I mean, do people have to suffer before we actually move? Californians, what say you? All right. So maybe if you ask for help, maybe you'll get help. I don't know. Because it seems like most Californians don't like President Trump. So we'll see. The COVID playbook returns: energy rationing and the politics of crisis control. This is in New Zealand. So this recent headline from New Zealand should itself send chills down your spine. Government reveals details of fuel crisis rationing and who will be prioritized. The citizen, of course, is at the bottom. So escalating powers are addressed as prudent planning. So just like COVID began with 2 weeks to flatten the curve, the fuel plan begins with monitor and inform. Phases 3 and 4, rationing, purchasing limits, directed distribution, are legally and politically pre-legitimized by their inclusion into a published plan. So they have a plan to screw the people again. All right, where it's actually worse. The priority bands are socially explosive. Band A through E create a formal hierarchy of citizens. Very undemocratic, of course, but hey, who's asking questions? It's a crisis, damn it. Emergency services and defense get uncapped supply. General retail consumers are last. This is defensible in an emergency, just like COVID, but it also means that in a sustained disruption, ordinary people rationing school runs and commutes are subsidizing the uninterrupted operation of government and defense. So the core problem, the fundamental lesson not learned from COVID is this: emergency frameworks, once built, are hard to dismantle and easy to expand. Now, New Zealand was one of the most locked down countries in the world. And I guess the baddies learned a lot from that, and they're getting ready to implement it again. All right. So fuel companies retain ownership. Now, at one point, I think like Australia and New Zealand had almost, independence, energy independence. And of course, they became very green, like California and Europe. They sucked it, and they sucked it down. And of course, now they're not looking so good. So this is the priority bands that I mentioned before. The government, defense, courts, corrections, hospitals, the state itself, fully protected. Surprise, surprise, very fascist, very fascist. All right, so fascism is on the rise. Band B, large logistics operators, supermarket supply chains, mom and pop, bye-bye, international aviation. These are not small businesses. These are large corporations with existing government relationships. Very fascist. Keep in mind, Air New Zealand was partly nationalized during COVID and has lost money every year since. No surprise. It is basically a fascist-controlled company now. Band C, public transport, essential infrastructure, again, largely state-owned or state-contracted entities. Band D, all other commercial. Now, what they get away with in New Zealand and Australia, they're going to bring to the rest of the world, because that is basically where they test it, right? I've talked about that during COVID. Said, watch Australia, watch New Zealand. Whatever they get away with down there, down under, they're going to get away with here, because they use those guinea pigs down there, and the guinea pigs up here will react the same, right? So Band D, all other commercial and business fuel uses. This is where the small business owner, because the state wants their controlled big corporations to exist, right? Fascism. Look at fascism, all right? The tradesman, the independent courier, the rural contractor sits. They are fourth in line behind the state and its preferred corporate fascist partners. Band E, general retail, the ordinary citizen, last and least, right? The guinea pigs will like the slop that they get, and if they don't like it, they'll put them in a concentration camp, right? And that's what they did. They did that in Australia. I remember that. I don't know about New Zealand, but so democratic hostility to oil industry causes California state to lose 3 more refineries. All right. So this was back in September 28th, 2025. And we're going to look at this because they predicted the gas prices that California is seeing now. All right. So expect $7 a gas in 2026. And by God, wow, it's happened. How did they know? Los Angeles, California, September 23rd, 2025. California's oil refining industry is in sharp decline, with 2 major refineries slated to close by mid-2026. And that it is happening. The closures of Phillips 66's Wilmington refinery and Valero's Benicia facility signal a broader trend driven by declining gasoline demand. Really? All right. Phillips 66 refinery in Wilmington, which processes, because other states like that gas too, 139,000 barrels per day, began idling operations in early September, is set to fully shut down by the end of 2025. Ending the company's crude oil refining in California. Meanwhile, Valero's 145,000 barrels per day Benicia refinery in the San Francisco Bay Area is scheduled to cease operations by April 2026, and I guess they did. So, Californians, hope everyone has an electric car, right? Because you're going to need it. And if you don't, then you're paying ridiculously high prices. Wonder how much it costs to fill up for electricity. I wonder if that's going to go up. Yamaha just left California after 47 years, and more are following. So another one was Blue Diamond Almond Company, which had been in California for 115 years, is wrapping up. So again, fascism on the rise, right? Fascism. Californians, how did you let this happen? All right, so here we are with other problems. So I track SoCal foreclosures every month. Here's what's new. All right, so this is Christian Walsh. So let's see.
How many homeowners are missing payments right now? In LA County alone, notices of default are up 175% year over year. That is not a typo. Now, before all the crash bros come out and start screaming, see, 2008 is back, slow down. Because there's a layer to this story the headlines are not telling you. And one of the most respected foreclosure analysts in the country, Rick Sharga, he laid it out live on my podcast, Real Estate Disclosure, last night.
If you're looking for where we might see foreclosure activity, it's going to be states with a high concentration of FHA loans. And if you drew a smile across the bottom part of the country from Phoenix and Las Vegas along the south through.
All right, during the Biden administration, foreclosures were shut down. You could not do foreclosure. And that was a recipe for disaster. So President Trump, I think within the last several months, maybe a year, he basically said, I've been through this myself as a real estate guy. you got to let this stuff play out, and you got to let the shit, get washed out. You can't keep this shit, inflated, which is what's happening. So most people can't afford a house now. It's like 80% of people, I think I saw somewhere, cannot afford a house. And that's going to change, right? That's going to change a lot, right? They're going to get very affordable going into the future.
I see it.
That's where you have the highest concentration of FHA loans. You're also seeing the highest concentration of delinquent student loans. If you layered on top of that, which states had the highest increases in insurance premiums and property taxes? It's the same.
All right. So they're coming in and they're ramping up the property taxes. You guys have heard me talk about this, the bond fraud and so forth. We're going to have that get together in LA, not LA, but Las Vegas coming up next month. So I have the link down in the description box. So if you can join us, I would join us. I think that they're close to being sold out. And there's other options in there. You won't be able to stay at the Ahern because it's sold out. But just down the road within walking distance is Sahara, and they're having special room rates for the people that are coming to the Ahern for that event, for the fraud event. And they're also going to be exposing not only the financial fraud with these, these states and counties and so forth that are cranking up the property tax, and the same people that basically come in and do the estimates that cause the property taxes go up, the insurance goes up too, right? So, and it's putting a lot of people out of their homes. So this foreclosure rate is going to surpass 2008, 2009, guys.
States. If you also layer on top of that, which states have had price declines year over year in home prices, it's the same states. So if you're an FHA borrower who took out a loan 2 years ago with a 3.5% down payment, and you're in Austin where home prices have gone down 10% in 2 years, you're now underwater effectively.
So here's the question.
All right. So you guys know that I was jumping up and down on about this for years. Get out of real estate. Don't buy right now. And I know a lot of people fell for it, and they're probably not listening to my show anyway, but unfortunately you guys probably know these people. I remember people were like, I got out of mine. I'm renting. So that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting. Silver's going to go boom, boom. And and silver's going to continue to go boom, boom for years, guys. So don't sell all of your silver. You want a dollar cost average the best you can into buying silver. Buying silver still with Dr. Kirk Elliott, ideally. And then at some point, I predicted, if you guys remember, if we look at the same outcome that happened, one of the last back in 2000 or 1980s, the Hunt brothers, when they did the silver, tried to control the silver market. Silver to gold ratio was 14. Now, I don't see the gold price staying what it is right now. I think it's going to go at least to 7,000 this year. So if you look at the gold to silver ratio of 14, that equals 500. And that's what I predicted silver would be by the end of the year. Mid-year, 250, end of the year, 500. So I've been right on this year after year. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. So you need to be in silver. If you're not in silver, it's because you're still procrastinating, vacillating, right? Even my daughter, she approached me today and she's like, Dad, I got an IRA investment. I want to invest in silver and gold. Do you know anybody? Obviously I've been watching my shows. So I sent her my last show with Dr. Kirk. That was a great show. We're both predicting it's blast off time again, guys. So we'll see a new high. What's going to cause that? We'll see. Who knows? Maybe it goes sideways. Maybe it goes down again. But at some point, it goes big, big, right? So a lot bigger than it's been ever. It's already bigger than it's been ever, because the last high for the last few times was 50. So we've already seen 100, almost 120, 121 maybe. It's pulled back. It's been around 70, floating around 70. It looks like it's getting ready. I think it's like 78. It goes through 80. Then it goes through 90, and it's really going to take off. So I think we're going to see 80 coming up. Maybe next week, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Very hard to predict this stuff, because if the war kicks off, all bets are off, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. So more stupidity in the throughout our cities. Democrats are destroying fascist type their cities and their states.
One of Washington's iconic companies, headquartered in Seattle, now plans to open a major corporate office in Nashville. Today, Starbucks.
That's right. Seattle, where Starbucks was started, is going to leave Seattle because it's so stupid and corrupt. Now look over here. Millionaire exodus. Socialist mayors dismiss wealthy. We've seen that with Kathy Hochul. She dismissed wealthy individuals, like, you don't like it, then get out. And then months later, she started begging them, we need you to, because we have all these benefits that we have to pay out and give money away to legal. She didn't say it, of course, but that's what she wants the millionaires to stay there for. It's typical of liberals, guys. They have this like stupid idea of the way the world's going to be just because they think it's going to be good to do that. And then they find out, right? They F around, they find out. So this is what we're seeing around the world. Oregon officials push vacancy tax. We're going to talk about that, but look at this Seattle bullshit.
They will add thousands of jobs and invest millions in Tennessee. The big move brings bigger questions about what it means economically for Washington.
5 months. That's all the time it took for Seattle's new mayor to go from standing on a picket line, telling her entire city to stop buying Starbucks coffee, to releasing a statement.
So another Marxist, just like Mamdani, people voted her in, and she's destroying that state and that city, helping destroy the state and destroying that city at rocket liftoff speed.
Begging that same company to stay. 2,000 jobs and $100 million are now headed to Tennessee, and the people of Seattle are the ones left holding the bill.
This is a state that has become the envy of many states.
As Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee rolls out the red carpet for Starbucks.
And we are extremely grateful for you, Brian, for your team.
A sharp contrast to what Mayor Wilson said at a Starbucks workers rally in November, encouraging people to boycott the company.
I am not buying Starbucks, and you should not either.
Now there are mounting questions on what.
Yay, stupid. Yay, stupid. Let's be stupid. Yay. What, they left? They took all the money? Why? Why? What do we do? What happened? Oh, you liberal idiots. You're destroying your, and we'll come back and rebuild it. Don't worry. Right. We'll come back and rebuild it. But you can't stay. When we come in, you go bye-bye, right? We're going to put you on some place somewhere else, right? But thousands are living in cars in Portland. So remember how I talked about Portland? It is like all of the left coast. It is collapsing.
There are more homeless people in the Portland area than ever before. That's according to Multnomah County. The county's latest numbers show that though Portland may be seeing visibly less homelessness, the people who are experiencing it still remain in higher numbers. Fox 12's Michaela Armstrong has the details.
In his State of the City address last week, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson said unsheltered homelessness is on the decline. But Multnomah County numbers paint a different picture.
There was once so much suffering. Now there is a new hope.
See, if they can't create the bullshit lies that they talk about, they just create it out of just thin air. Oh, there's so many less people. Then you go out on the streets and there's so many more people that are living in the streets. These people are idiots.
I can see it.
As Mayor Keith Wilson sees Portland's homeless crisis trending down, Portlanders say they're seeing a different reality.
These are real people: dental hygienists, factory workers, veterans, elderly women, sleeping in their cars, vans, and RVs on the streets of Portland, Oregon. And the number keeps rising despite the city spending $250 million trying to stop it. Portland poured over $250 million into sweeps and shelter programs since 2021. And today, more people live outside than when that spending began. Let's start with the scale, because most people have no idea how large this problem has grown. Portland's own city fact sheet puts the number of lived-in